History holds the answers, or does it? From forgotten maps to ancient secrets buried in plain sight, the world's greatest mysteries remain unsolved, and the truth lies hidden, waiting for you to uncover it. Please like, share, and subscribe. Histories, Mysteries, and Conspiracies. Season 2, Unraveling the Unknown. Where the past isn't just a story, it's a puzzle. Are you ready to piece it together? Now, the whole earth had one language and the same words. And as they migrated from the east, they came upon a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there. And they said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and fire them thoroughly." And they had brick for stone and bitumen for mortar. Then they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves. Otherwise we shall be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth." The Lord came down to see the city and the tower which mortals had built. And the Lord said, "Look, they are one people, and they have all one language, and this is only the beginning of what they will do. Nothing that they propose to do will now be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language there, so that they will not understand one another's speech." So the Lord scattered them abroad from there over the face of all the earth, and they left off building the city. Therefore it was called Babel, because there the Lord confused, Balal, the language of all the earth, and from there the Lord scattered them abroad over the face of all the earth. Genesis 11, 1, 9. Hidden in plain sight, the Tower of Babel. Fueled by pride, the people preferred to make a name for themselves and build a city with a high tower, enabling them to remain together in defiance of God's command. The proposed construction began. Composed of brick and mortar, this city was intended to be permanent and impressive, a fortress against any natural or supernatural attempt to disperse mankind throughout the earth. For the first time in Earth's history, there was a language barrier. Without a common language, the people who had been so adamant about staying together were now unable to even understand each other. Construction of the city ceased, whether because they lost interest in the city due to the futility of attempting to coordinate such a massive project without a means of communication, not to mention losing the appeal of living together as one people, or because they recognized God's judgment and feared a worse sentence should they attempt to continue in their rebellion. The Tower of Babel is a story which has captivated the ages and offers insight into the dispersion across the earth. The reason given for this action by God was that society had become centralized, and nothing which they purpose to do will be impossible for them. This seems to be a rather strange and cryptic reason for the action that God took. Perhaps the phrase, "nothing would be impossible for them," should be understood in terms of the potential for a one-world government. Power was effectively centralized under one king, possibly Nimrod, after a series of military conquests. Human government is necessary but also has the potential for incredible evil, and a one-world government is one of the worst things that could ever happen. This may well be the real reason why God took the action that he did and the significance it has for society. The story of the Tower of Babel begins with a people settling in the plain of Shinar. The origin of the name Shinar is difficult for scholars to agree upon. Some scholars believe that Shinar is related to the Old Babylonian name for southern Babylonia, Sumer. But was Shinar really Sumer, or maybe it was China, or better yet, maybe Tibet? And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech, and it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. Genesis 11, 1, 2. Was they, as in the whole earth, and the whole earth dwelt there? Or is it specifically about Babylon, the sons of Ham, including Nimrod? So 3 cities were founded in Shinar, which is the beginning of the kingdom of Babylon, but not the location of the tower, nor the final location of Babylon, as we shall see. First is Erech, which means to stretch or expand, named when Nimrod began expanding his boundaries. Next is Akkad, which is a primitive version of Akkad, meaning unified or one or single, as the conquered cities became unified in the Babylonian Empire. Finally is Kalne, meaning all of them, as in there is no dissent within the conquered lands. Putting the four city names together makes expanding and unifying all together. We learn that the land of Shinar was named after a particular city, built as the capital for the kingdom of Babylon. And while Nimrod was reigning according to his heart's desire, after having conquered all his enemies around, he advised with his counselors to build a city for his palace, and they did so. They found a large plain to the east of Ararat, and they built him a large and extensive city. And Nimrod called the name of the city that he built Shinar, for the Lord had vehemently shaken his enemies and destroyed them. Jasher 7:42-43. The city became the greatest city on earth, and all the nations became subjected to Nimrod. The kingdom of Shinar became a one-world government. And Nimrod dwelt in the city of Shinar, and he reigned securely, and he fought with his enemies, and he subdued them, and he prospered in all his battles, and his kingdom became very great. And all nations and tongues heard of his fame, and they gathered themselves to him, and they bowed down to the earth, and they brought him offerings, and he became their lord and king, and they dwelt with him in the city of Shinar, and Nimrod reigned in the earth over all the sons of Noah, and they were all under his power and counsel. Jasher 7:44-45. We know that the Most High doesn't have a problem with centralized power, so long as the king walks in the ways of Jehovah and does not teach abominable practices. However, Nimrod in his arrogance rebelled against Jehovah. When the centralized government rebels against the Most High, decentralized power is needed. Power must be scattered around the earth. And all the earth was of one tongue and unified words. But Nimrod did not go in the ways of the Lord, and he was more wicked than all the men that were before him from the days of the flood until those days. And he made gods of wood and stone, and he bowed down to them, and he rebelled against the Lord, and taught all his subjects and all the people of the earth his wicked ways. Jasher 7:46-47. The Tower of Babel story is the story of how God decentralized the kingdom of Shinar's power and authority by scattering them around the entire earth. And they said one to another, "Go to, let us make brick, and burn them thoroughly." And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. And they said, "Go to, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth." Genesis 11:3-4. They rejected the name of the Jehovah and attempted to create a name for themselves, lest they be scattered over the whole earth by their enemies. And King Nimrod reigned securely, and all the earth was under his control, and all the earth was of one tongue and a unified words. And all the princes of Nimrod and his great men took counsel together. And they said to him, "Come, let us build ourselves a city, and in it a strong tower, and its top reaching heaven. And we will make ourselves famous, so that we may reign upon the whole world, so that the evil of our enemies will cease from us, that we may reign mightily over them, and that we may not become scattered over the earth on account of their wars." Jasher 9:21. When the idea came about to build another city, unlike the city of Shinar, which was in a plain, they wanted this city to be high up, close to heaven. And all the families assembled, consisting of about 600,000 men, and they went to seek a wide piece of ground to build the city and the tower. Jasher 9:23. 600,000 men searched for the perfect place for this utopian city reaching towards the heavens. And they searched in the whole earth, and they found nothing like one flat place. east of the land of Shinar, about 2 days' walk. And they journeyed there, and they dwelt there, and they began to make bricks and burn fires to build the city and the tower that they had imagined to complete. Jasher 9:23b-24. The most common theory is that the Tower of Babel was in Babylon, but in the book, Two Babylons, author Alexander Hislop suggests that the Mesopotamian Babylon was completely different than the Babylon from the days of Nimrod. And with the changing of language, how would anyone ever know? They traveled the entire earth and found nothing quite like a flat plain east of Shinar. The key phrase here is east, and the Tibetan Plateau is maybe the greatest plain found east of there. Let me introduce you to Mount Kailash, an ominous figure resting in the heart of Tibet. Russian ophthalmologist Ernst Moldashev popularized the theory that Mount Kailash is a man-made pyramid in his book, Where Do We Come From? Mount Kailash is widely revered in Hinduism as the eternal dwelling place of Lord Shiva, where he meditates and resides with his consort, goddess Parvati. This belief makes the mountain a sacred site in both Hinduism and other religions like Buddhism and Jainism, a place of profound spiritual energy and a connection between the earthly and divine realms. If Mount Kailash are the remains of the great city and tower, we are only seeing 1/3 of its original unfinished design. The original magnitude of this tower and its enormous size and height are preserved in Sefer Yashar. And when they were building, they built themselves a great city and a very high and strong tower. And on account of its height, the mortar and bricks did not reach the builders in their ascent to it until those who went up had completed a full year, and after then they reached to the builders and gave them the mortar and the bricks. Thus it was done daily, and behold, these ascended and others descended the whole day. Jasher 9:27. According to this account, the tower was so large that it took a year for a brick to go from manufacturing to assembly at the height of the tower. Some people have read this account in Jasher and figured that the ancient author was exaggerating, but is it possible that it was in fact that large? When the Most High saw what they were doing, he took action. And the Lord said, Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language. And this they begin to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. Go to, let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. Genesis 11:6-7. And God said to the 70 angels who stood before him, to those who were near to him, said, Come, let us descend and confuse their tongues, that one man shall not understand the language of his neighbor. And they did so unto them. And from that day following, they forgot each man his neighbor's tongue. And they could not understand to speak in one tongue. And when the builder took from the hands of his neighbor lime or stone, which he did not order, the builder would cast it away and throw it upon his neighbor, that he would die. And they did so many days, and they killed many of them in this manner. Jasher 9:33-34. The text continues saying that Jehovah exhibited 3 punishments on the builders of the tower. Those who wanted to ascend into heaven and smite God with bows and spears, he killed by the hands of his neighbor, probably with bricks. Those who wanted to place their idols in heaven and worship them, he turned them into apes and elephants. Isn't odd that apes and elephants are worshipped today in India? Those who wanted to ascend into heaven and fight against the Most High, these were the ones whom God scattered abroad from there upon the face of the earth. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. Genesis 11:8. Scattering abroad could mean that God placed 1/3 of the builders onto all the continents of the world, which could explain why we see step pyramid towers in ancient civilizations around the world. There is a memory of what ultimately happened to the tower, as preserved in an ancient text. As to the tower which the sons of men built, the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up 1/3 part of it, and fire also descended from heaven and burned another third, and the other third is left to this day, and it is of that part which was aloft. Jasher 9:38. This may be the remnant that is the part which was aloft. What we see today as a mountain may be the inner brickwork of the tower, sunken down to a similar height as the surrounding mountains, preserved today for the glory of the Most High and a memory of His might and power. The land where Mount Kailash is located is Tibet, the disputed autonomous region between India and China, an area that has been fought over for many years. What is it about Tibet that is considered so sacred? Why is this land in particular fought over by the Chinese and Indians? Could there be a coveted location in the area that has been remembered for generations? It is possible a memory of this great building project is still venerated today. Mount Kailash is thought to be the resting place of their gods and is considered the gateway to heaven. One of the practices of pilgrims to this site is traveling around the mountain. The remains itself are too steep to climb. A limited number of Indian pilgrims have been allowed to visit the place, under the supervision of the Chinese and Indian governments, either by a lengthy and hazardous trek over the Himalayan terrain, travel by land from Kathmandu, or from Lhasa, where flights from Kathmandu are available to Lhasa, and thereafter travel over the Great Tibetan Plateau by car. The journey takes 4 night stops, finally arriving at Darchen at an elevation of 4,600 m, 15,100 feet, a small outpost that swells with pilgrims at certain times of the year. Despite its minimal infrastructure, modest guest houses are available for foreign pilgrims, whereas Tibetan pilgrims generally sleep in their own tents. A small regional medical center serving far western Tibet and funded by the Swiss Nari Korsum Foundation was built here in 1997. Walking around the mountain, a part of its official park, has to be done on foot, pony, or domestic yak, and takes some 3 days of trekking. 3 days of trekking around the mountain is similar to what is remembered concerning the tower in the ancient text of Jasher, and its circumference is 3 days' walk. Many people of the sons of men died in that tower, a people without number. Jasher 9:38-39. Is it possible that the ritual of circling the mountain may have originated with memorializing the rebellious souls of those who perished with the destruction of the tower, memorializing those whose full cycle of life and death was devoted to the divine building project? Do they believe these souls can wipe away negative karma? Perhaps that's the meaning of the supposed pilgrimage. Doing a walk around the mountain can wipe away a lifetime's worth of sins, or negative karma, as is the term in Eastern religions. He who performs the parikrama, the ritual circumambulation of the holy mountain, with a perfectly devoted and concentrated mind goes through a full cycle of life and death, Lama Anagarika Govinda, the way of the white clouds. The Eastern religions that practice this are themselves rebellious to the commands of Jehovah even to this day, and it would make sense they would mourn the remains of the builders and their tower with prostrations and idols. If Mount Kailash truly is the Tower of Babel, what does this mean for our understanding of history? Skeptics may argue that the Book of Jasher is a forgery and should not be conflated with the Book of Jasher from the references within the Bible. Others may suggest that the Bible is full of myths and parables. Or maybe these mountains are ancient buildings. Did early civilizations possess knowledge and abilities far beyond what mainstream academia credits them with? Was there an advanced, centralized society before the Great Scattering? And if so, what else remains hidden beneath the surface of accepted history? Most importantly, what was the true purpose of this tower? Was it merely a monument to human arrogance, or could it have served as a gateway, an attempt to reconnect with something greater, something lost to time and divine decree. The mysteries of Mount Kailash persist, and perhaps, hidden in its sacred silence, lies the answer to one of the oldest enigmas of human history. Bravo. Select an option for more.